Hey everybody, welcome back to Appleseed Podcast, where we believe the root of financial freedom begins with education. In today's episode, we're talking about saving, not just where to put your money, but the mindset and habits that make saving possible in the first place. In the last episode, we talked about maintaining your income and how it ties directly into your income. Today, we're continuing that discussion, talking about saving. It's not just about fear, panic, or hoarding. It's not about some what if scenario. It's about creating habits. It's about creating habits to support the lifestyle that you want. And some people can save. If some people can save if they're not doing it already, and all they got to do is rearrange some of their finances. Look at what they're spending, and they can move some things around. I'm sure they can. Good for you. I mean, you should absolutely take a good long look at where you're putting your money or where your money's going, and say, hey, I can cut back here, I can cut back there. I want you to understand that the sooner you start saving, the easier it'll be for retirement. Please, please, please grasp the concept that not everybody makes it rich. Most people do end up going to 67 and a half at retirement age. So you want to save up till then. You want to plan for that. And hopefully, yes, you do hit a lottery or some sort. But for now, plan for the long run. But I also want to acknowledge that there are some people who absolutely cannot save money, not within their budget. I understand. I believe you. No matter how disciplined you are, you think you are, the way capitalism is set up, the way the economy is set up, I understand you can't get there. There are unwritten rules to ensure that you don't succeed at all. You don't get ahead. Every time you think you're making ends meet, someone just pulls them apart. I don't want you to feel bad about the economics and the politics of why you can't get ahead. Most families don't rise out of their class. It's very difficult for the children to make it into a higher tax bracket than their parents. So this is not a conversation about shame. It's about understanding your options and choosing a saving path that fits your reality. So I want you to think of a vehicle as a tool that holds onto your money with a purpose. That purpose is your emergency savings, patient, down payment for a home, whatever it is that you choose. Choosing the right tool is like choosing the correct lane on the highway. It all depends on where you're going and how fast you want to get there. It's not about where your money is or what it's supposed to do. Growing up, the financial advice I received from my family was save for a rainy day. Well, what's a rainy day? I was 10 years old and had no concept of what a rainy day was, especially when it came to finances. What's a rainy day? Do you have savings for a rainy day, Brian? What can you tell me about saving? Help me. That was half the financial advice I received growing up. And it must have been significant because I can remember it from about 30 years ago, almost 30 years ago. That's it. Back to us, not me. When it comes to savings, you're not just, I can guarantee you're not just going to jump on the highway 80 miles an hour. Most of us start in a slow lane, and that's where you should be. Uh, think of savings as a vehicle. Let's think of each savings vehicle as a different lane. On the highway, each one moves at a different pace than the last one, but each one will get you to your destination no matter where you're trying to go. Every lane has a value depending on where you're starting and where you're headed. I want to start with traditional savings account. This is the most basic savings lane. It's like the far right lane on the highway. It's not the fastest, but stable. It's safe and it's familiar. This is where everybody should start at. Seeing as how most other accounts, the high yield, the CDs, the MMAs, need a minimum balance. The traditional savings account is where you should be starting. That far right lane. That's your entry point to the highway. That's your entry point to savings. And usually, most of the time, it does not have a minimum balance requirement. That's why you should start there. Having it attached to your primary checking account is kind of a blessing and a curse because you do have easy access to it, and it is tempting to spend that money. I get it. Uh, don't. You should not at all. This is where the habits come in. You need to set aside small income to start off with, and small enough to where you won't miss it, you won't need it, if you can. If you can, like I said before, there are some people out there who just can't. Maybe you have to wait for a different opportunity come along to where you can say, hey, I can start saving. If you're living off of a certain income, I know lifestyle creep is going to hit you and you're going to want to spend more. It's tough. It's tough. It's tough. Build up that saving habit. How to do it? It takes a little bit of discipline. One thing I might suggest is starting off small. If you can put $5 in that savings account, if you can put $10 in that savings account, you can put $20 in that savings account, do so. Starting off, you don't have to put $500 in there. You don't have to put $100 in there. That can be your end goal if that's where you are. The real win, the real victory happens when you have that money in there and you don't touch it until your next pay cycle comes. When that comes up and you haven't used that money, that's your victory. That lets you know you should at least started that habit. You know what? As a matter of fact, that's what I'd like you to do right now. Open up your banking app, whatever app you use. Go ahead and schedule a transfer for what you can do. So the next time you get paid, schedule a transfer for that day. Not a recurring, not automatic, just one time the next time on your payday. Open up that banking app, transfer some money over there. If you don't have the habit of saving money, we're going to start now. Maybe you can't do it this pay cycle. Maybe you can do it the next pay cycle. All I want you to do is set it up, not touch that money. Once this habit becomes routine, then you can start moving into those faster lanes. You can start moving towards the left. It doesn't matter where you start. You just have to start. Being in the slow lane doesn't mean you're behind. It means you're on the road. And from here, everything just moves forward. But if you're ready to take a step forward, schedule a coaching session. All right, I can track your expenses. I will let you know where your money is going. I got a spreadsheet I use for me. I can use it for you. The more important part is, you can see where your money is going, but you'll see how it can start working in your favor as well. And that, I believe, tracking expenses along with every other budgeting method that I mentioned, tracking expenses is probably the most important part. I would like to be very, very clear about something. This is fundamental education. That's all I teach is the basics. All right. Now, I'm one that understands you can't save your way out of poverty. I'm not trying to make you rich. This is not a way into wealth. You're not going to get there by saving money. Even investing, which takes some time, it does have more upside, but you're not going to get super wealthy overnight. All right. Savings is not a wealth building tool. It is a safety net. It is a stability tool, which is just as important when it comes to your finance. The purpose of saving is not to be rich, it's to be ready. The purpose of saving is not to be rich, it's to be ready. The purpose of saving is not to be rich, it's to be ready. It's to prevent collapse, to avoid setbacks. When something's going to knock you back 5 steps, and you've been trying to get ahead, and something hits you back, that safety net is there to catch you. This is not a trend, it's not a fad, it's not a challenge. Maybe it should be a challenge, how much you can save in a year, but I want you to keep this going and make it a lifestyle challenge. Sorry, a lifestyle change. It's supposed to be a commitment to what you are going to build. Now, you're not stacking money in some vault. You are creating a margin, a buffer. What you're doing, what savings is doing, is buying yourself time, space, and the option to do what you need to do. That's what it's there for. It's not to get ahead. It's to make sure you don't fall behind. And a lot of us are already behind. And first, I want you to understand where I'm coming from. Everything I mentioned about struggling from the start, about not knowing where to put my money, and feeling like saving was impossible. That was on me. That was all me. I was in the slow. Actually, no, I wasn't even in the slow lane. I wasn't even on the highway. I felt like I could not get there. I felt like I could not. I felt like I did not make enough money to save. Saving was not a priority to me. Surviving was. And I was still trying to figure all this out. Like, I need to pay bills. I need to eat. I need to, oh my goodness. Capitalism is so expensive. It's more expensive to be poor. Oh my goodness. That's why I hate capitalism. You heard me talk about my father earlier. Yes, the name I mentioned about the financial advice I received. That was half of the financial advice I received. Um, I was supposed to follow that advice, and it didn't help me out anything. It didn't help me out any bit. Because it didn't help me out when I was 10 years old, I couldn't understand, I could not find the reason to buy in to saving money. I could not understand the why. You don't have to follow my advice. I'm just some random person, but I had to look up what it meant. I had to find my reason why I needed to start saving, and that was I got tired of being broke. The reason how I found my why was because I got tired of maintenance issues, having a flat tire and having to use rent money to fix it. I got tired of these emergencies popping up and I don't have anything to cover them. I got tired of seeing friends struggle and not being able to help them. That's when my why came in. My breakthrough happened when I learned about mutual funds, index funds. I started researching more about them before I, jumped into the deep end. It wasn't some super enigmatic, financial strategy. It's just something that made sense to me. After doing a lot of research, I didn't need a lot of money to open up an investment account. I started mine with $5. And I went to a brokerage, became a personal investor, meaning I'm my own investor. Started off with $5 in a mutual fund. And that's an account where I didn't have to watch the market play. I didn't have to be there every minute, every hour, watch the stocks go up and down. I put my money in a fund, a group, other people, and I received the payout. That's how the mutual fund works. So what kept me motivated was I logged in and saw 3 extra cents at the end of the week. Now, 3 cents may not be a lot. In no means, it's a lot. But when I didn't have to work extra for it and I only put $5 in, that kept me going because I'm extremely impatient. And seeing this keep pace with my expectations did so much more for me mentally than having a traditional savings account would have. I would not have made 3 cents in 3 months with a traditional savings account. And there it was sitting there at the end of the week. That little increase, it flipped the switch to me. It flipped a switch in me. And that's when saving money became addictive. Seeing that little bit made me want to add more and more. And that's when I started setting up recurring investments and started looking around at what other options there were. Saving became, and at that point, saving became more than a habit. It became a necessity. And the more I added, the more I believed in what I was doing. Now, if I had known about this years ago, I probably wouldn't even be working today. I guarantee I wouldn't be working. The decision to move money into an account that I did not have immediate access to, that ended up being the foundation of my savings. That brought me out of survival mode. That brought me out of survival mode and and helped me actually build some stability. So when I talk about saving, it's not just about when I talk about these vehicles and avenues and roads, it's not just about theory. I was actually there. I actually lived it. So if you're sitting there thinking it can never be me, I promise you, I promise you, I promise you, I did the same thing. I did the same thing until I stopped making excuses. I needed to save a certain amount. When I saw it grow, let's keep going. I'm all in for it. Nothing else even matters. Savings is not about being perfect. It's about being prepared. Savings is not about being perfect. It's about being prepared. Savings is not about being perfect. It's about being prepared. You're not saving to get rich. You're saving to get ready. I know you heard me say it before. You're not going to get rich. You're going to get ready. Famous poet said, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. So you're creating breathing room when life gets too close, when life gets too tight. You got that cushion to say, "I can handle this." That's what that cushion is for. To say, "I can handle this without stress." I want you to understand that no matter how good life may seem, if you're in that situation, emergencies don't hand out invitations. Stability has to come before wealth building. Savings is not a wealth building tool, especially if it's in a traditional account. Even in a high yield savings account, that is not a wealth building tool. It is a stability building tool. So it's not a race to hit 10K, 50K, 100K. You do that in an investment account. Your life raft, your cushion, your safety net should be a certain amount. You start where you need to start now. Make sure it's a number you can live without. As you can, like that old, like that old air fryer commercial where you can set it and forget it. If you can't save every other week, every other paycheck, go for once a month. Make sure it's a number you can live without. But if you're not sure where to start, again, schedule a coaching session. Leave me a message down in the comments, and I'll reach out to you. Message resonated with you at all, please share with somebody. They may need it. If you're ready to take control of your finances, great. Taking a step in the right direction. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Apple Podcast. And remember, we're not done until learning has a finish.